A difficult wife. Anybody else is easier to deal than her. You understand? Cameron Townsend, the founder of Wycliffe Bible Translators, had a difficult wife. According to Molly, she said, can you imagine your husband preaching out there and she's yelling out things, terrible things at him, and the congregation is like so confused, is it? No. He was kind to her in public. He was also kind to her in private. And he stayed with her and let God use her to train him as a godly man until the day God says, enough. Took her home. So his second wife was a delight. And she hoped everything the first wife had done. Hire this kind, loving, gentle husband without you having to do anything to him. Wow, not bad, huh? Those of you who don't want to go through the trouble of training your husband, look for a widower. Okay? Trained already by first wife. Hopefully, please make sure train well, huh? Train badly is worse. All right? But here you notice the blame was put on men in both cases. In Genesis 16, Sarah may have suggested, but Abraham followed, and the result again is pain and problem and conflict even today. Genesis 21, Sarah suggested, Abraham was told by God to listen, and the reason is because there's no previous word from God, and there was the allegory. Remember? So in the role, what is the wife's role in giving advice? Remember, God intended both of you to rule, both of you to run the household. So what should both of you do? Remember, you should offer whatever suggestions because you can see things that the husband doesn't. And because a wife is more sensitive, so a godly husband would listen to his wife. And I'll tell you, this is where sometimes you can measure the godliness of most men, because common complaint in churches, I'm not talking outside, churches I hear for some wives is, yeah, my husband never listened to me one lah. That's why I say to you, it is a mark of a very godly man or husband who's still willing to listen to his wife even though she gives foolish advice. But you can be like Joe and say, you are giving me foolish advice. You know, shall I accept good from the Lord and not evil? You understand? Listen, it doesn't cost you anything to listen. So remember, it's the measure of your own godliness, whether you're able to rise above this irritation that you have and be able to control it and still listen. But remember, she sees other sides. You need to fulfill your role as a suitable helper, because we do see a lot more things, different things we are more sensitive to. And usually, please don't ask a woman to explain why. All we know is just that instinctively we sense something is wrong, and please don't poo-poo our instinct. When you come to my finance course, a finance portion, I can tell you, you can read finance books of how wives have been used by God to save their husbands from financial mistakes. You understand? But of course, not always. So you need to train yourself to make sure you're a helper, really. But remember, the only but is, woman, you're not to insist that your husband follow you. And I'll tell you, men, your wives are happy as long as you know you've already listened to them. Even whether you follow or not follow, it doesn't matter. As long as I've already told him my part, and at least he understood where I stand, and the decision is still his, and a godly wife will say, whatever decision he makes is still fine with me. But only thing is, I just want you to listen to me. Am I right, most wives? Yes or no? Yeah, some of you say yes, the others I don't know. Okay? Now, there are certain things to think through. What happens if your husband makes a wrong decision or does something stupid? Like one of my, not my wives, you see, the wives in my church was saying, you know, she and her husband was going, and she was saying, take this turn. And he said, no, I'm right. And so she said, they were traveling down the expressway 15 minutes before he would say that he's gone the wrong way. And she said she sat at the driver's, beside the driver, biting her tongue to say nothing. And so when he decided to make a U-turn to go back, acknowledge, you're right, after all, she just had to graciously smile. Not say, I told you so. Very hard, huh? But that's a godly woman's response, okay? That's why you have to fight like that, just to bite on your tongue and say, no, I'm not sure. But sometimes you just want to, no, please don't. Learn to do these type of things. He made a wrong decision or does something bad. What I say is, you need to regard it as a learning experience. None of us are perfect. True or not? We all make mistakes. So you expect people to give you grace. Why don't you extend that same grace to your spouse? You understand what I'm saying? Regard that as a learning experience and say, oh God, we're so foolish, but please help us. Help me learn next time, you know, whatever. And you just regard it. If both of you can regard it this way, it's fine. But if he still wants to, you just have to pray and pray and pray and just trust the Lord. And I mean, I have no time to tell you stories of wives who have done it this way and seen how God moved to their defense. You can't speak, but you notice his friends spoke, his mother spoke, and people whom he listens to spoke. So it's like, in the end, it's like, okay, you're right, you need this. And so, you understand? But you know what? It disciplines the person to really seek the Lord. And you really have such a dependence on God. The other thing is ultimately you have to trust God. Romans 8:28, remember? God works all things out for good, right? The good thing is your husband will learn, you make a wise decision, but your respect for him is still there, where you didn't tell him, I told you so, you should have listened to me, no, shut up, all these type of things don't say. He will learn next time to be, the second time around,